This is one of the first witnesses that is completely unbiased.
Do you have a general understanding about what this case is about?
27.5 minutes of actual testimony. That was the first question that was in my head. It was like, you're going to say this, aren't you? And there it is. The 3 points that you need to take away from this video. Number one, well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Buckle Up, It's the Law. Folks, today we are going to do Robert Gilman, the meteorologist, the one that is going to tell us about the weather, the snowing conditions, and of course, we are jumping straight into the cross-examination by none other than Robert Alessi. So Alessi is turning out to be the more like scientific, technical individual on the Karen Reed team this time around because he was not in the first trial, and I was really looking forward to what he's going to be accomplishing in the second trial. And so far, oh my God, you guys, Alessi has been delivering time and time and time again. Now, before I begin, I do want to preface by saying yesterday I did make a comment which I will admit appeared to be a little bit generic. It's probably not the way I intended for it to be heard. I said something about the Irish. I didn't mean like every single Irish person on the planet, you know, generalization, and that's entirely my mistake, and I'll own up to it because people have called me out on it, and you know what? That's what true people do. When I get called out, I will shout it out from the rooftops because I am not afraid of the truth. And so I just wanted to say that I apologize because I did not mean it in the way that I said it. What I was trying to say is that a lot of the people in the Albert family appear to be of Irish descent. Like, obviously, we know Yuri, I believe, is Ukrainian. Some of them may be Scottish. It's irrelevant. I was simply trying to point out that, and those of you who have mentioned this in the comments, you will wholeheartedly agree that the Irish band together and they protect each other. And I even had people from Ireland say the same. So I'm not trying to disparage the Irish in any way, shape, or form. I was simply making a point. And I'm sorry if it came off a little bit off. I will watch myself in the future. And once again, thank you for keeping me on the straight and narrow. Now, without further ado, I bring you Robert Gilman. Let's go.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gilman, and congratulations on your career up to this point.
Thank you. Good
I had
afternoon, almost.
Pardon me?
Good afternoon, almost.
I have some questions for you, if I could, please. You covered a bunch of topics on your direct examination, and I wanted to confirm some of them. As a meteorologist, you indicated that you look at a variety of areas under the larger umbrella of weather, correct?
Correct.
And one of those areas is snow accumulation.
Correct.
Another area is visibility, correct?
Correct.
Do you have a general understanding about what this case is about? Let me ask it this way. As regards weather conditions, are you familiar with an address of 34 Fairview Road in Canton, New York?
Yes.
And have you ever been to 34 Fairview, Canton, New York?
Massachusetts.
Not New York. This is
I'm
we're in
sorry,
Massachusetts.
I'm sorry, Massachusetts,
Okay.
sir?
Yes. I've been in many parts of Canton. I don't believe I've ever been to 34 Fairview.
Are you generally familiar with that area?
Yes.
And you've mentioned the Norwood Airport on your direct testimony, correct?
Yes.
And is the general area of Fairview, is that in close proximity to the Norwood Airport?
I mentioned it's a mile away.
Right, so it's fairly close, right?
A mile.
Right, so you would expect that the readings you talked about on your direct examination would have a direct bearing and relevance to the 34 Fairview Road in Canton, is that correct?
Yes, relevance, yes.
Yes. So what I would like to do is to draw your attention to the exhibit that was just marked, if Your Honor. We have that. May I approach, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Gilman, this is Exhibit 64. If I could hand that to you, please.
Thank you.
And you can keep that in front of you. If you could publish. Oh, excuse me, Your Honor, may I publish?
Yes.
Thank you. If you could enlarge just, no, not the whole thing, just the chart up above, and make that as large as you could for the jury, please. That is very good, thank you. You see where we are, and Mr. Goodman, you can either look on the screen or look on the document, whichever is best for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's start with the top, which is estimated hourly snowfall ending at. This is for January 29th, 2022, correct?
Yes.
And what does not appear on this chart, but I want to make sure I can get this as accurate as possible, would it be appropriate to, before 1 a.m., to add a 0.2 for what you mentioned on direct for midnight? You mentioned there was a little bit starting, and there was a 0.2. Is that correct? Did I hear that correct?
If you want to get the total for the snowfall event, yes.
Okay, so we'll just have, if you will, an imaginary 0.2 up at the top. And what I'm going to do, sir, is I'm going to go through the hourly snowfall, because there are times that you have on your chart that are relevant in this matter. So let's start with, and just do it chronologically by time. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to do a little bit of math as we go through. If you
Allow me to foreshadow what Alessi is doing. Because on direct examination, which we did not cover on this channel because Brennan is boring as crap, I imagine on direct examination, Brennan highlighted the fact that this snow accumulation has been gradually piling on and could have theoretically and very practically just buried John in the snow. That's why nobody saw him as they were leaving the party. Now, unless everybody was leaving the party at 6 o'clock in the morning when he would be totally and completely buried, or maybe 5, you know, if most people were leaving around like 1:30, there would only be like 3 inches of snow on the ground maximum. And I think, my suspicion is, Alessi is about to break it down. So he's setting the stage. This is called laying the foundation in law. You have to lay a foundation. You can't just crack a witness's jaw, you know, with a left hook right out of the gate. Before you get to the left hook, you have to set up your punch, right? You got to get your stance. You gotta make sure that you are in a fighting stance. Then you have to draw. If you're doing left hook, right? You have to draw, and then you punch. So before you get to the actual physical contact, you know, fist to jaw in this metaphor that I've just created, there are certain things that need to be laid out first. And that's what Alessi is doing. And believe you me, when I say this stuff may not be the most exciting thing in the world, don't get me wrong. But let me know in the comments below if you feel that this testimony is extremely necessary and relevant. And by the way, as you're scrolling down, don't forget to hit that notification bell and subscribe if you haven't already. Why are you not subscribed? What is wrong with you? Subscribe. It's free. And you get more of this content. Come on, everybody wins. Even YouTube. But who cares about them? Whatever. Anyway, as long as you and I win, that's all that matters. The point I'm trying to make is watch how Alessi is going to start disassembling the facts, reassembling them for the jury, and coming to a conclusion. And I can tell you already, Alessi has been masterful in doing this with other witnesses. And unfortunately, they were few and far in between. And I'm so glad that we get another Alessi video because I want to see where this goes. This looks like he's got something. He's got a plan and he's going to implement it. Let's see what happens.
You need a calculator. I think it's going to be fairly straightforward math for someone with your skills, but take your time when we get through it. So we start at midnight, and you mentioned the concept of visibility on your direct examination, correct?
Yes.
And I believe you said on your direct examination that at midnight there was, quote, very little snow precipitation. Is that correct?
I believe I said there was very little snow on the ground.
Very little snow on the ground, and I think you used the phrase track a cat?
Enough to track a cat, exactly.
Right. So enough to track a cat, but a fairly small amount, correct?
I don't know how to define it any better than enough to track a cat.
Very good, sir. I'll go with track a cat.
That's the smallest amount as you can get. And again, that would be on a natural surface, not necessarily on pavement.
Right. And what would the variation be, if at all, on pavement?
Oh, a lot of factors would come into play. Most importantly, since this was a forecasted storm event, the town may have pre-treated the road. That lowers the freezing point of the precipitation. So it would, even if it was 25 degrees, it might be melting on the road.
So in terms of the factor you just talked about, for example, pre-treatment, that could cause the accumulation, the numbers here to be lower than what we're seeing on the chart, correct?
Definitely, correct.
But there's not a scenario where it could be higher, is it, at this point?
Well, there are places, especially with this kind of wind and dry, fluffy snow, that you would have drifting.
Right, but with just 0.2 inches on the ground, would you expect drifting?
No,
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Right,
Not unless I was a very small animal.
I was going to say, tracking a cat wouldn't
Yeah.
seem to work very well if you've only got a drifting with 0.2.
I thought you were asking about the larger numbers.
No, sir. Good point. What I'd like to do is...
Yes, Mr. Gilman, slow down. What Alessi is doing, remember, it's all about building that foundation, right? You start at the beginning and you slowly, pun intended, inch your way down, okay?
To just concentrate on the beginning here and midnight and 1 a.m. and then we'll progress down through, okay? I want to snapshot it, if you will, starting at the very beginning. So we then move to 1 a.m., which is 0.3 inches, correct?
Correct.
Now, if you add, and it seems like to be most accurate, to each number here, we would add a 0.2 to get the total, correct?
Correct.
So if we go to 1 a.m. on January 29, 2022, we've only got 0.5 inches of snow per this chart, correct?
Total so far, yes.
And again, allow me to foreshadow, Alessi is not going to reach this conclusion with this witness because he asked him, how familiar are you with 34 Fairview? Do you know what's happening? And he's just like, he's playing dumb, or he truly doesn't know. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. For the defense's purposes, all they want is the jury to hear that there is a 0.00% chance by the time this testimony is done, 0.00% chance that John's body was buried in the snow, period.
On the road, that could be less because of municipal pre-treatment. If they pre-treated for the storm, they could have put some chemicals down that would have caused a melt and therefore less. That's a possibility.
That's one factor. Another factor would just be the road may be warmer for a number of reasons.
So that could be another reason why it might be less. Another factor.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now let's go I want to go between 1 and 2 a.m. Let's assume a time of 1:45 a.m. on January 29, 2022. Is it correct that the accumulation would be less than 0.8 inches at that point, according to your chart?
By 2 a.m., it would be less than 0.8, yes.
Correct.
Therefore, by 1:45, it would be less than 0.8, yes.
Right, so-
Or equal to, if yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
Less
sir.
than or equal to.
Right, so you used 2 a.m., right, which would mean that it was 0.8, correct?
Correct.
And then if you work back 15 minutes at 1:45 a.m., it would be less than 0.8, correct?
If it was still snowing in those 15 minutes.
Right.
Yes.
So, but I just want to focus on the number.
Yeah.
At 1:45 a.m., it's less than 0.8 inches, correct?
0.8.
It's less than 0.8 inches.
Yes,
Okay.
right, alrighty. So, and that is, to state it another way, is it correct to say it's just 0.8 of an inch? Is that correct?
0.8 is 0.8 of an inch.
Right, another way to say it. So, in terms of the time now, and this may get a little more complicated, sir, but if you take just the time between 1 a.m. and 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., so you've got 0.8. You would have under at 1:45, is it correct you would have only 0.35 inches accumulated of the 0.8? You follow my math, sir?
I'm not sure what I follow in that sentence.
Yeah, it was a
Did
complicated
you
one.
ask me how much snow fell between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m.?
That's another way of asking the
Okay,
question.
between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., 0.3 of an inch is the estimated snowfall.
Right, very well. And so what I'd like to do now is to move down the chart to 3 a.m. How much snow?
I know I'm probably the only person on the planet who is nerding out on this right now, and let me know in the comments below if that is a correct statement or not. But I am loving this breakdown. His Alessi's sheer force of oration, his oratory skills, is just so masterful. I have never seen an orator make numbers look interesting. This is supposed to be boring as heck. It's like 0.3 plus 0.2 equals 0.5, but Alessi's like, sir, if you take the time between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., would it be a fair statement that the snow accumulation is approximately 0.35 inches? Are you talking about between 1 and 2? Yes. Yes, I would agree. It was about 0.3 inches, 0.3 of an inch. Thank you. All right. Moving on. Like, he enunciates every syllable. And it makes you go, okay, this is important. I need to pay attention. This is an art, fam. I have never in my life seen anything like this. This is testimony where normally you would be falling asleep. And maybe you are. Maybe you're watching this at midnight and you are, hello? Hey, wake up. I'm serious. It's supposed to be boring. I am captivated. Now, maybe it's because I'm a number junkie, and that's also true. But I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. And again, don't forget as you scroll down to subscribe. Some people have said that they are having trouble subscribing. If you try to do it on your phone, sometimes it like glitches or whatever. If you do it on the computer, you can't go wrong. I am captivated. That is real lawyer work right there. And by the way, if you've seen any of my lawyer work, you know that my style is very similar. So if you need a trial lawyer, call us. 1-844-774-HURT, 1-844-774-HURT. Trial lawyers such as myself are standing by ready to get you money in your pocket. Car accidents, dog bites, slip and falls, medical malpractice, dental malpractice, 1983, police killed somebody. Now, I have to make another caveat because we're getting a lot of calls. We're getting an influx of calls, and that's perfectly fine. I'm obviously asking for it. if it happened recently. When I say recently, within the last year. Don't call me about cases that happened 15 years ago. I cannot help you. Don't call me about cases from 5 years ago. I cannot help you. Some jurisdictions don't even call me about cases 3 years ago. I cannot help you. Every state has its own statute of limitations. Like I've learned recently, New Hampshire's is 3 years. Massachusetts, I believe, is 2 years. Kentucky is only 1 year. So if you had an accident in April of 24 in Kentucky and you call me today, I cannot help you. There are certain claims that may still survive for a 2-year period, but not bodily injury. Bodily injury claims are 1 year in Kentucky. We have a very short statute of limitations. And a lot of states are like 1 year, 2 years. The biggest I've seen, I think, is 3 years. So if it happened more than 3 years ago, don't even bother. I won't be able to help you, unfortunately. But let's get back to this captivating testimony. This is incredible stuff. I never thought I would be so entertained by numbers. Thank you, Alessi, for making it happen.
Has fallen or accumulated between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m.
It would be 1 inch.
Right. And is an inch, and you're in the measurement business, about the size of a thumbnail?
Yeah, I actually use the knuckle on my thumb to the end of my thumb as an inch.
Right. So from the knuckle of one's thumb to the end of the thumb is 1 inch.
1 inch.
And under your terminology on direct, you had used the term very little. Would you consider from the knuckle to the top of the thumb very little snow?
It definitely would require a comparison. 1 inch of snow has caused tremendous problems for people.
Right.
So I would not call it, just by the fact of 1 inch of snowfall, I would never say.
I think he's talking about with respect to like driving and stuff like that. We're talking about trying to hide a body under the snow. Buddy, big difference.
It's very little.
No, so I'm sorry, maybe my question wasn't clear. I'm not talking about effects of 1 inch. I'm just talking a measurement of 1 inch. On a measurement scale, would you still consider that your phrase, track a cat, or would you be out of the track a cat?
We'd be out of the track a cat stage.
Got it. So, but again, the 1 inch being from the knuckle to the top of the thumb.
Yes.
Let's now go all the way down to about another time is 3:30 a.m., which we're going to focus on now, 3:30 a.m. How much snow had accumulated by 3:30 a.m.?
Well, we're going to have that inch we just talked about at length, and we're going to add the 2/10 from the previous day, the last few hours of the 28th, so we have 1.2. Now we're going to add another half an inch by 4 a.m., so somewhere less than 1.7 inches, less than or equal to.
Wouldn't the number at 3:30 be 0.85 inches?
It's a...
You're including the snowfall from the previous day, the 2/10 of an inch?
Yes.
No.
What would it be?
As I said,
See, the problem with this, I see what Alessi's trying to do. The problem with his assumption is that you have to assume, based on his statement, that there has been a consistent snowfall for the duration of that 60 minutes. Theoretically, it could have stopped snowing for the first 30 minutes of the hour, and all of that snow fell at the bottom half of the hour. Because it's not broken down by 30 minutes, it's broken down hour by hour. It's very difficult to pinpoint exactly where the snow... You can't just... unless you do have evidence that the snow fell consistently at a consistent rate and unchangeable, which is, not, I shouldn't say rare, but it's an extreme assumption. And I will give it to the witness, Mr. Gilman, that it's difficult for him to just outright agree. Alessi needs to zero in on the explanation to the jury. Let's see if he's capable. I think he is, but let's see how he does it.
1.2 inches up to 3 a.m., and then we're adding some amount before 4 a.m. unknown how that was distributed within that hour.
There it is.
But something like 1.7 equal or less than total.
How about the accumulation between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m.? How much accumulation for that time period?
Between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. So we have 0.3 of an inch up to 2 and another 0.4 of an inch, or a total of 0.7.
So between 1 and 3 a.m., there's only an accumulation of 0.7, correct?
Correct.
And for the record, folks, just so you understand, the jury is asleep, okay? You and I are the only ones who are actually enjoying this and digesting it and processing it. The jury has tuned out. The jury is asleep. Trust me when I say this.
Interesting.
Correct.
Their eyes are glazing over.
You had spoken a lot on your direct testimony about the magnitude of the storm, a variety of other measurements. But what I wanted to draw really a line at 6 a.m., which you said was an accumulation of 3.9. What I want to do is to now move on to from 7 a.m. on January 29th until noontime. And you can check my math, sir, but I get 12.5 inches total as of noon on January 29th.
I can do the arithmetic if it sounds about right. 8.6 inches fell up until noon, starting at 6 in that time period, which is about the amount we forecast.
He's so proud of it. We had about 8.6, which is about the amount we forecast. So, yeah, pat yourself in the back, Gilman. You did a good job this time. I love it. I love the little positive self-talk. Respect.
Ask about the total going back to the night before? Or?
Yeah, the total starting at midnight.
This is one of the first witnesses that is completely unbiased, and at least on its face. I mean, he may still be, an agent of the Alberts in that sense. But I'm just watching the guy. He doesn't have any stake in the game. He doesn't care. He's just there to tell the truth about the amount of snowfall. He's the first honest witness that I can think of in this entire trial that we have done on this channel so far. Think about that for just a second. How many witnesses have we already done? How many witnesses have actually testified that I may not have done yet? How many more witnesses are to come? We have like 150 in total, including all the defense witnesses. About 110, I think it was, for the prosecution, give or take a few. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is 150 for the prosecution. Let me know in the comments below how many it is. I forgot, honestly, fam. I completely forgot. But anyway, it's kind of ironic, isn't it, that this is the first guy that's honest, and he's talking about snow. Because you're going to lie about snowfall? Like, come on, that's one thing that you can't lie about, because they'll bring in their own meteorologist, the defense, during their case in chief when the prosecution closes their case, and they're just going to obliterate, the prosecution's witness. So this is the first guy. I just can't get over that fact. It's so stupid, but funny.
Starting at midnight.
Right, going until noon, so it's a 12-hour period of the same day, January 29th.
Calculation is 12.3 inches.
Right, and then you'd add the 0.2 from midnight?
Previous to midnight, yes.
Right, so 12.3 is what shows with all those numbers, but then you have to add the 0.2 from midnight, which would get you to 12.5, correct?
Exactly, yep.
Good. So just to summarize the first column there, all the way down from 1 a.m. to 12 p.m., at 6 a.m. we've got 3.9 inches, and then moving down to 12 p.m. we're at 12.5 inches, correct?
I believe so.
Sir, tell me when you're ready.
Yes, yes.
So we're in alignment with those two numbers, 3.9 inches as of 6 a.m., 12.5 inches as of 12.
Bingo. This is some of the most crucial. Let's just hear his answer real quick.
p.m. on January 29th, correct?
Yes.
So less than 4 inches total by 6 a.m. And now let's hear the breakdown going up to 6, and 12 inches by noon. See, this is where I think the Alberts miscalculated. So remember my theory that they decided to take out the hit on John O'Keefe on Blizzard Day. They waited for a blizzard to come because then they can create. They had a plan. This was premeditated murder. This was murder in the first degree. They had a plan. They executed it and they delivered. Okay, and then they had a plan of how they're gonna come up with the story. Like maybe he just like hit his head and he fell or something like that. I don't know. That's not. I'm not here to try and get into their heads. It's disgusting and disturbing to even think about. But at the end of the day, they had a plan and they were going to execute it by executing John O'Keefe. What they miscalculated are two things. Number one, they miscalculated that Karen is going to be blowing up his phone, so they were terrified that Karen could show up at any minute, and that's why they had the lookout. But the second thing they miscalculated is they thought the blizzard was going to be front-end heavy, meaning maybe we're going to get 12 inches in the first few hours. Unfortunately, the majority of the storm came after John's body was already found. And so their theory of he was buried under the snow, which is a brand new 2025 theory that was never mentioned, not for a single millisecond in the first trial, by the way, for those of you who have followed since trial number 1. The most interesting portion of this is that they miscalculated. They did not anticipate that his body would be found so quickly. They were hoping that it would get buried even further under the snow. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And the body was discovered a lot faster than they anticipated. This is my hypothesis. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree. Yeah, that's what I think happened. Let's keep watching.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I wasn't sure if you wanted me to do all the arithmetic again, but I did do that, and yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate you doing that. You talked about the concept of visibility on your direct examination. In terms of visibility, did I hear you correctly that there's a correlation between the amount of snow coming down and visibility?
The intensity of the snowfall, so the amount over time and visibility, right?
Right. So the intensity or amount over time. How would you describe visibility from 12 midnight or 12 a.m. on January 29th until 1 a.m., that 1 hour period? How would you describe visibility?
I really don't know exactly. I can look at the report from Norwood Airport. They measure the visibility.
Could you do that, sir? Would that be easy enough for you to do?
Do you need a light, Mr. Gilman? Do you need lights on?
If we're going to do more than one, I would, but let's see if I can. Thank you, Your Honor. And we were asked about 1 a.m. Is that?
Yes, visibility at 1 a.m.
Okay. Visibility reported at 1 a.m. was 1.2 miles in light snow.
And what does that mean, a visibility of 1.2 miles?
1.25 miles, 1.25 miles. It means that anything that was more than 1.25 miles away from the observer would be hidden by the snowfall. You wouldn't be able to see it.
And what does it mean if the visibility was less than 1.25 miles?
And as the visibility lowers, you can your ability to see objects in the distance is reduced.
So assume, sir, that somebody is 30 feet away from an object they want to see, and the visibility is 1.25 miles. Would they be able to see that object based upon your experience with visibility and your career in that area?
All other things being equal, yes.
Right. So would it be fair to say visibility would be good for 30 feet if it's a 1.25 mile and beyond?
He's not going to agree.
answer that, Mr. Gilman?
It's a tough question.
Can I further explain to the jury about visibility? Thank you. A term like good for
Yeah.
visibility would generally apply more toward 8 miles, 10 miles is good visibility. So it's hard to say that anything under 3 miles. For instance, we go from calling visibility reduction in haze to fog. Once it's really the same atmospheric phenomenon, but once you get below 3 miles, we call it fog or dense fog. So anything below that, when you reduce visibility by fog, haze, snow below 3 miles, it's hard to call it good visibility.
But if something is at
Narrow it in.
1.25 miles, there's visibility, correct?
Of 1.25 miles, yes.
There is
And
visibility.
again, if I could explain for the jury, a lot of this is developed for aviation.
Right.
And if you're a pilot or you think about what a pilot needs to go through.
Oh, that's great.
That's where these terms come from.
Because these people are in cars driving on the street. They're not flying in the air. They're not flying through the air. Oh, this is beautiful for Alessi.
I understand, sir, but you are in the weather forecasting business, correct?
I sure am, yes.
And you, and weathercasters, we all here on TV talk about visibility on their forecast, correct?
Correct.
And they're not talking just to pilots, right? They're talking to people who are going to drive, people who are going
Drivers.
to walk, is that correct?
And it is a challenge to communicate that, yes.
But sir, my question is, when someone, a weathercaster, a weather person is talking about visibility, the main target audience are for people who are going to be driving or walking, correct? There's not pilots that they're getting.
Well,
that
I don't know, but I would never expect, and I do broadcast meteorology, a broadcast meteorologist to say visibility was good if it was less than 1.5 miles.
Yeah, sir.
Again, he doesn't. No, that's not the question, buddy. The question was, if the visibility is 1.25 and somebody's 30 feet away from an object, would you say that that is good visibility for them 30 feet from where they're located? Alessi, clarify the question. This guy's clearly either not understanding or he's dodging you. Fix it. You got this, buddy.
I appreciate that, but my question's not, I've left whether it's good or not. I'm talking about the purpose of weathercasters speaking about visibility.
Yes.
You had indicated in your earlier answer you had tethered it to pilots, but there's also an application of the visibility concept for the rest of us in the world who drive and walk, correct?
Yes,
Isn't it useful for that?
Absolutely. I'm trying to answer your question about whether the visibility was good.
Right, but but I'm not asking that question anymore. My question is just,
I only know what you asked me.
All right. I'll try it a different way. Visibility
Get him, Alessi.
is a concept that is used by weathercasters to assist people who are going to be walking or driving. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
There you go.
So now let's go on to the concept of temperature. You mentioned the concept of wind chill on your direct examination. You recall that, sir?
I was asked about it, yes.
Yes. Does wind chill have a relationship to temperature, and if so, what is it?
It does have a relationship to temperature. It's a complex function that was developed by the U.S. Air Force in the 50s to help produce cold weather gear. And it was determined that wind had a major impact on our military in terms of what type of gear they needed, in addition to how low the temperature was. So it's a measurement of temperature to begin with, and then there's a complex function applied based on the wind speed, come up with how that air temperature, how that air is going to impact the human body.
So is it fair to say that if you have a temperature, and what I wanted to do is to go to the temperatures that you gave on your direct examination, is it accurate to state that, for example, on January 29th, I believe I heard you say there was a high of 29 and a low of 15. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, that was my report based on all those 3 locations, yes.
And you had also testified about wind speed and wind gusts as well. And can you state, if you have it in your notes?
I do, yes. It was
wind
in the
speed?
report, yeah.
Yep, and what was the wind speed? Average and then high gusts?
Sure. 23 miles an hour with frequent gusts of 47 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
what
a
does
serious storm.
your number 23, how does that affect temperatures of 29 and 15?
It makes that air feel much colder. So that air, that 20-degree air, did you say 20 and 50?
29, sir, and 15 were the numbers you had given?
That range for that day, sure.
Yeah.
So it makes that air temperature feel colder, and it allows that air to take heat out of your body more efficiently and more rapidly. So it feels much colder, and we can calculate roughly how it would feel if there was no wind at all.
And sir, thank you. You've gotten right to my next point, and I only have a few more questions left for you. So if you had the highest temperature on the 29th of 29, January 29, 2022, do you know what the wind chill factor would do in terms of a calculation number to bring that 29 number down? Do you know what that number would result in applying the most conservative wind speed of 23?
The one number that I like is the number of you guys, subscribers to this channel. That's one number I can definitely attest for. So thank you all who have already subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed, don't forget to subscribe. Let's finish this video up.
I wasn't asked to calculate that, no?
Would it be less than 0? Just an estimate,
Based on the 29 temperature?
based on the 29.
No.
Would it
I
be
don't believe so.
Would it be in the teens?
Yes.
So the 29 would be in the teens, and then for the low of 15, approximately what number might that get down to?
Again, depending on the wind, if you looked at 5 miles an hour, again, it wasn't that wind all day, and that 15-degree might not have been corresponding to any wind at all.
Just using your average that you used on direct of 23.
The average wind, again, made it feel much colder, bitterly cold, extremely cold when you were out in the highest wind at the lowest temperature. So it may have felt like 0 to even 10 below 0 at the lowest temperature and the highest wind gusts.
So if I got that correct, so 15 was the lowest temperature you gave on direct on January 29th, and you state that it would be, with the wind chill using about an average of 23, would be 0 or maybe minus 10. Is that the number correct?
Again, I'm just guessing. I didn't do the calculation. I wasn't asked to do the
Fair enough.
calculation. But based on my experience of reporting in this area for 45 years, I basically get the idea of what it's like when the temperature is that low and the wind is that high. Yeah.
Right, and if we could please have the chart published back up, please. You can keep the lights on, you just make it larger. I want to make sure Mr. Gilman has some facile with his notes. Okay, so is it correct to say that if the total accumulation for the storm was 23.8 inches, that the vast majority of that accumulation came well after 6 a.m.?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You got it. That's all you
And
needed.
as of
We have spent 27 and a half minutes of actual testimony. I know this video is obviously longer because of my commentary. That was the first question that was in my head. It was like, you're going to say this, aren't you? And there it is. Let's finish it up.
6 a.m., we've only got 3.9 inches compared to what the storm ended up at about 23.8. And then, importantly, from midnight on January 29th until 3 a.m., we've got just 1.2 inches, correct?
Exactly.
Oh,
Can I have
God.
a moment, Your Honor?
That was
Thank you.
great. Oh, my
please,
God.
bear with-
That's impressive. The 3 points that you need to take away from this video. Number one, there was only 1.2 inches of total accumulation of snow. This is what the Alberts miscalculated. and didn't factor into their murder scheme plan. 1.2 inches up until 3 a.m., 3.9 inches on or before 6 a.m., despite the fact that the entire storm was like 26 point whatever inches, which is a lot of snow. That's 2 feet of snow, folks. That's more than 2 feet. That's like 2 feet and 2 inches of snow, approximately, just slightly over. That's a lot of snow. I know this may not have been the most exciting testimony. I think Alessi made it way more exciting than it should be. I hope you all enjoyed this content, and I will see you all in another video later today. Bye, everybody.